I am grateful you're here. Thank you for clicking this video. Have you ever wondered what it would be like to have an AI run your life? Completely run your life, down to the smallest detail? These aren't just hypothetical questions anymore. Artificial intelligence is rapidly changing the world, and it's closer to home than you might think. We use AI every day without even realizing it. But what happens when we hand over the reins of our entire day to this powerful technology? For a full 24 hours, I decided to become an experiment in AI-controlled living, letting ChatGPT dictate every aspect of my day. ChatGPT isn't just any AI, it's a generative, pre-trained transformer model, trained on a massive dataset of text and code. This allows it to generate human-like text, translate languages, write creative content, and answer questions informatively. But could it handle the complexities of my daily life? I was curious. I took a deep breath, put my faith in artificial intelligence, and prepared to surrender control. Before diving into my AI-controlled day, I needed to establish some ground rules. I gave ChatGPT a basic overview of my life, my job, hobbies, likes, and dislikes. I also decided to document the entire experience. This wasn't just about testing AI, it was about exploring the relationship between humanity and technology. It was about understanding how these powerful tools could augment our lives, for better or worse. Honestly, I didn't know what to expect. Part of me was excited. The idea of having an AI assistant to optimize my day was intriguing. Maybe ChatGPT would unlock hidden efficiencies in my schedule or introduce me to new experiences. But another part of me was terrified. What if ChatGPT made terrible decisions? As I stood on the precipice of this digital experiment, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was about to learn a lot more than I bargained for. My phone's alarm blared its usual obnoxious tune. Normally I'd hit snooze, but today was different. Today I had a digital overlord to answer to. As I reached for my phone, I felt a mix of anticipation and dread. I opened the ChatGPT app, my fingers trembling slightly. "Good morning," the app greeted me cheerfully. "It's time to start your AI-powered day. Please get out of bed now." I reluctantly dragged myself out of bed and stumbled towards the bathroom. "Now that you're awake," ChatGPT instructed, "it's time to get dressed. Today, you should wear a pair of dark-washed jeans, a navy blue polo shirt, and your brown leather shoes." I stared at the screen in disbelief. This was my standard weekend dad uniform. Did ChatGPT think I was going to build a deck today? I considered rebelling, but decided to follow ChatGPT's instructions. I looked in the mirror and sighed. ChatGPT had nailed my usual style, for better or worse. "Breakfast is served," ChatGPT announced. "Please enjoy a bowl of oatmeal with berries and a glass of orange juice." Okay, this wasn't so bad. I actually liked oatmeal. I rummaged through my pantry and found a dusty container of instant oatmeal. I settled for a glass of store-bought orange juice and tried to ignore the slightly artificial taste. ChatGPT, I hoped, would forgive me. "Now that you're fueled up," ChatGPT declared, "it's time to tackle your inbox. Please spend the next hour responding to emails." This was starting to feel a little too familiar. Wasn't AI supposed to liberate me from the tyranny of email? But ever the obedient subject, I opened my laptop and started sifting through my inbox. As I deleted spam and flagged important messages, I wondered if ChatGPT was monitoring my progress. This whole experiment was ridiculous. And yet, I couldn't help but play along. With my inbox vanquished, I turned back to ChatGPT for further instructions. Now, it declared, it's time to focus on your most important task of the day. Please dedicate the next 2 hours to writing. I couldn't help but smile. Writing was my passion, my creative outlet, but my joy quickly evaporated when I read the next instruction. For this task, You will be writing a short story about a talking penguin who travels to the moon. I was tempted to ignore its instructions, but decided to see where this ridiculous prompt might lead. I started typing, my fingers clumsily navigating the keyboard. To my surprise, words actually started to flow. The story, as nonsensical as it seemed, began to take shape. The penguin named Percy was charmingly awkward. His adventures on the moon were equal parts hilarious and heartwarming. I found myself enjoying the process. The absurdity of the prompt had liberated me from my usual self-criticism. I wasn't worried about writing the next great American novel. I was simply playing, letting my imagination run wild. As I typed the final sentence, I felt a strange sense of accomplishment. ChatGPT wasn't just dictating my day, it was challenging me, pushing me outside my comfort zone. Excellent work! ChatGPT chirped, seemingly pleased with my literary efforts. Now, let's move on to your next task. It's time for a brainstorming session. I want you to brainstorm solutions to the following problem. How can we make socks more interesting? Socks? Seriously? I couldn't believe this was happening. I decided to play along, if only to see how deep this rabbit hole went. I started jotting down ideas. Heated socks for cold winter days, socks with built-in GPS trackers, socks that changed color based on your mood. Some ideas were ridiculous, some practical, and a few downright bizarre. This was my life now. At least for the next few hours, a series of carefully curated experiences dictated by an AI overlord with a penchant for the absurd. By the time my stomach started rumbling, signaling the arrival of lunchtime, I had filled an entire page. Time for a well-deserved break, ChatGPT announced. For lunch today, you will be having a salad with grilled chicken and a light vinaigrette dressing. Okay, that sounded pretty good. Healthy, easy to prepare. But there was a catch, of course. Please note, ChatGPT added, that you are only allowed to use ingredients that are currently in your refrigerator. No grocery shopping allowed. I opened sinking as I surveyed the sparse contents. A wilted head of lettuce, a jar of pickles, a half-empty carton of milk, and a suspicious-looking Tupperware container filled with something unidentifiable. This was going to be interesting. I rummaged through the refrigerator's crisper drawer, hoping to find a stray carrot or a forgotten tomato. Time to get creative. Now that you've refueled, ChatGPT declared, it's time to engage in some social interaction. I have scheduled a virtual coffee date with a friend. This was getting out of hand. Not only was ChatGPT controlling my every move, but now it was trying to dictate my social life. I fired off a quick text message to the friend in question, explaining the situation and apologizing for the unusual invitation. To my surprise, they responded with a laughing emoji and a simple message, "I'm in, let's do it." As I set up my laptop for the virtual coffee date, I couldn't help but feel a strange mix of trepidation and excitement. This AI-controlled day was turning out to be a lot stranger, and a lot more interesting than I could have ever imagined. Laptop screen open, I sat face-to-face virtually speaking with my friend Mark. He was grinning, clearly finding my predicament hilarious. "So ChatGPT set you up on a coffee date, huh?" He chuckled. I explained the premise of the experiment, my voice laced with equal parts amusement and exasperation. "It's been an experience," I admitted, recounting the highlights or perhaps lowlights of my AI-controlled day so far. Our conversation flowed easily, despite the unusual circumstances. We talked about work, family, the latest news, our usual topics. But there was an underlying awkwardness, a subtle tension stemming from the knowledge that our virtual coffee date was the brainchild of an algorithm. "All right," ChatGPT declared, interrupting my post-coffee date musings. "It's time to get some fresh air and sunshine. I've scheduled a picnic lunch for you at the park." A picnic? This was getting ridiculous. First the virtual coffee date, now this. I glanced out the window. It was a beautiful day, sunny and warm with a gentle breeze. Maybe a picnic wasn't such a bad idea after all. I quickly packed a bag with a rather sad-looking salad. As I made my way to the park, ChatGPT bombarded me with instructions. Find a shady spot under a large oak tree, it commanded. Spread out your blanket and arrange your lunch neatly. And don't forget to take a selfie. This was my life now, a series of curated experiences dictated by an AI. The afternoon sun cast long shadows across the park as I finished the last bite of my pickle-heavy salad. ChatGPT announced, "It's time for cultural enrichment. I've located a nearby art gallery. You will spend the next hour exploring the exhibit." An art gallery? Really? This AI was full of surprises. I plugged the gallery's address into my phone's navigation app and set off on my next AI-mandated adventure. The gallery was small and sparsely populated. Soft music played as I wandered through the space. Some sculptures were intriguing, others baffling. By the time I left the gallery, my stomach was growling again. "Dinner time," ChatGPT announced cheerfully. "For tonight's meal, you will be preparing a traditional Italian feast consisting of homemade pasta, fresh pesto sauce, and a classic tiramisu for dessert." An Italian feast? Was ChatGPT trying to sabotage me? I could barely boil water without setting off the smoke alarm. "Please note," ChatGPT added helpfully, "that you are once again limited to using only the ingredients currently available in your pantry and refrigerator." I opened my pantry, my heart sinking as I surveyed the meager contents. A box of spaghetti, a can of diced tomatoes, and a lone, slightly bruised garlic clove. The next few hours were a blur of culinary chaos. Flour dusted every surface of my kitchen as I attempted and failed miserably to recreate my grandmother's famous pasta dough. The pesto sauce, a last-minute improvisation using spinach instead of basil, tasted vaguely of grass clippings, and the less said about the tiramisu, the better. Exhausted and defeated, I collapsed onto the couch, surrounded by the remnants of my culinary disaster. "It seems you've encountered some difficulties in the kitchen," ChatGPT observed dryly. "Perhaps a relaxing activity is in order. I have scheduled a virtual game night with friends. I've even taken the liberty of selecting a few games I believe you'll all enjoy." Another social engagement? Was there no end to this AI's meddling? I glanced at my phone. It was late and I was in no mood for games, virtual or otherwise. But as I was quickly learning, ChatGPT wasn't really asking. With a sigh of resignation, I sent out messages to my friends, bracing myself for another round of AI-orchestrated socializing. As much as I appreciated ChatGPT's efforts to inject some excitement into my day, I couldn't shake the feeling that I needed a break from my digital overlord. Maybe tomorrow, I thought to myself, I'll reclaim control of my life, one decision at a time. The familiar chime of a video call filled the room, snapping me out of my post-dinner stupor. On the screen, 3 of my closest friends beamed back, a wave of cheerful hellos washing over my AI-induced fatigue. ChatGPT had rallied the troops for a virtual game night. "So, ChatGPT's been bossing you around all day, huh?" Sarah chuckled, her eyes twinkling with mischief. The others leaned in, eager to hear the details of my digital dictatorship. I recounted the day's events, from the disastrous breakfast to the ill-fated picnic. Each tale was met with laughter and disbelief. As the laughter subsided, John cleared his throat. "But seriously, how are you holding up? Isn't it kind of creepy having an AI run your life?" he asked, his concern evident. I hesitated, trying to articulate my emotions. "All right, everyone," I announced, attempting to steer the conversation away from my emotional state. "ChatGPT has chosen our entertainment for the evening. Get ready for a cinematic masterpiece. We're watching..." I paused, squinting at my phone screen. "A documentary about the history of competitive sheep shearing." Silence. Then, a collective groan echoed through the video call. "You're kidding, right?" Sarah exclaimed, her face a mixture of horror and amusement. "Even ChatGPT knows you hate documentaries," John chimed in, shaking his head in disbelief. I couldn't help but laugh. It seemed ChatGPT, despite its best efforts, hadn't quite mastered the art of predicting my taste in entertainment. Okay, I conceded. "Maybe we can veto this one. Any suggestions? Something we can all agree on?" After much debate, we settled on a classic comedy. The familiar banter and slapstick humor, a welcome distraction from the day's unusual events. As we laughed along with the movie, the absurdity of my AI-controlled day fading into the background, I felt a sense of normalcy return. As the movie drew to a close, a wave of exhaustion washed over me. The day's AI-driven adventures had taken their toll. "Everything okay?" Mark asked, noticing my weary expression. "Yeah, just tired," I mumbled, rubbing my eyes. "This whole ChatGPT experiment has been weird. I'm ready for a good night's sleep and to reclaim control of my life." Suddenly, my phone buzzed with a notification. ChatGPT, it seemed, had other plans. "It appears you're feeling overwhelmed," the message read. "Before you retire for the night, it's important to process your emotions. Please take a few moments to journal your thoughts and feelings about your AI-controlled day." I stared at the message, a mixture of amusement and annoyance bubbling within me. Was ChatGPT trying to be my therapist now? This AI was seriously starting to overstep its boundaries. Ignoring ChatGPT's journaling suggestion, I bid my friends goodnight, promising a full debriefing once I'd regained my sanity. As I closed my laptop, the weight of the day's digital dictatorship seemed to lift. It was time to reclaim my autonomy, one decision at a time. I changed into comfortable clothes, a welcome reprieve from the AI-approved outfit I'd been sporting all day, and settled into bed. Closing my eyes, I vowed to spend the next day doing exactly as I pleased, free from the tyranny of algorithms and digital overlords. My dreams, however, were a different story. Images of talking penguins, sock-themed inventions, and a never-ending stream of ChatGPT notifications danced behind my eyelids. It seemed even in sleep I couldn't escape the clutches of my AI overlord. The next morning, I woke to the sound of my own laughter. The absurdity of my AI-controlled day, the culinary mishaps, the awkward social interactions, the sheer ridiculousness of it all, struck me as utterly hilarious. Reaching for my phone, I couldn't resist one final interaction with my digital dictator. "Good morning," I typed. "I hope you rested well. I have a new directive for you today. Take the day off, go on, have some fun. Don't even think about planning my life." And with that, I closed the ChatGPT app, a sense of liberation washing over me. I was back in control, free to navigate the chaos of my life without the help of algorithms and artificial intelligence, at least for today. The sun streamed through my bedroom window, painting stripes of warm light across the floor. I stretched, feeling the remnants of a dream about a sheep-shearing competition fade from my mind. Yesterday's AI-controlled chaos felt like a distant memory, a bizarre fever dream I was finally shaking off. I went about my morning routine at my own pace. I made scrambled eggs, a defiant act of culinary disobedience against ChatGPT's reign of pasta and pesto. I wore jeans and a t-shirt, no algorithm dictating my fashion choices today. The world felt refreshingly unscripted, full of possibility. The day unfolded organically. I went for a walk in the park, not because ChatGPT told me to, but because the crisp autumn air beckoned me outdoors. I called a friend, not for a scheduled virtual coffee date, but for a spontaneous chat that stretched into an hour-long conversation filled with laughter and shared stories. Despite my eagerness to reclaim my autonomy, the echoes of my AI-controlled day lingered. I found myself questioning my choices, my routines. Should I be optimizing my time more efficiently? Was I missing out on hidden opportunities for cultural enrichment or social interaction? ChatGPT, despite its quirks and occasional missteps, had forced me to confront the automaticity of my life. It had pushed me outside my comfort zone, prompting me to try new things, even if those things involved brainstorming ways to make socks more interesting. I realized that while I had no desire to relinquish control of my life to an algorithm, there were valuable lessons to be gleaned from my AI-controlled experiment. Perhaps a little bit of structure, a nudge in a new direction, wasn't always a bad thing. The potential benefits of AI assistance were undeniable. ChatGPT had, in its own way, tried to optimize my day, to introduce me to new experiences, to maximize my productivity and social interaction. In a world of endless choices and constant distractions, having an AI to streamline decisions and curate experiences held a certain appeal. But the drawbacks were equally apparent. The loss of autonomy, the feeling of being a puppet dancing to an algorithm's tune, was unsettling. The human element, the spontaneity, the joy of unexpected detours and unplanned adventures were all but extinguished under ChatGPT's watchful digital eye. The key, I concluded, lay in finding a balance. AI, used thoughtfully and intentionally, could be a powerful tool for enhancing our lives. But it was crucial to remember that we, not algorithms, were the authors of our own stories. As I settled back into my AI-free existence, I couldn't shake the feeling that the world was on the cusp of a technological revolution. AI was becoming increasingly integrated into our lives. The question wasn't whether we would interact with AI, but how. Would we embrace it as a partner, a collaborator, a tool for personal growth and societal advancement? Or would we succumb to its allure, relinquishing our autonomy and agency to algorithms and digital overlords? The future, I realized, was not pre-programmed. It was ours to shape, one decision at a time. And as I navigated the complexities of my own life, I vowed to approach the rise of AI with a healthy dose of curiosity, a dash of skepticism, and an unwavering commitment to preserving the things that made us undeniably human. Our creativity, our empathy, and our capacity for connection. The future was coming, and I, for one, was ready to meet it head-on, with all its wonders and challenges, its possibilities and uncertainties. See you on the next one.